World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the world in ways that are still felt today. It was a war that saw unprecedented levels of destruction and loss of life, with battles raging across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Pacific. The sheer scale of the conflict was staggering, involving more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The war began in 1939 when Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland. This act of aggression set off a chain reaction of alliances and hostilities that quickly spread across the globe, engulfed the globe from 1939 to 1945. The war saw the rise and fall of empires, the redrawing of national borders, and the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers. It was a time of great technological advancement, with innovations in warfare that included the use of tanks, aircraft, and ultimately the atomic bomb. The conflict was marked by significant battles such as the Battle of Stalingrad, the Battle of Midway, and the D-Day invasion of Normandy. Each of these battles played a crucial role in determining the outcome of the war and had a profound impact on the course of history. Nations clashed on land, at sea, and in the air. The war was fought on multiple fronts, with soldiers enduring harsh conditions and facing unimaginable dangers. On the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union bore the brunt of the fighting against Nazi Germany, with cities like Leningrad and Stalingrad becoming symbols of resistance and sacrifice. In the Pacific, the United States and its allies engaged in brutal island-hopping campaigns against Japan, with battles such as Iwo Jima and Okinawa highlighting the ferocity of the conflict. The war also saw significant naval engagements, with the Battle of the Atlantic and the Battle of the Coral Sea demonstrating the strategic importance of naval power. Millions perished, leaving an indelible mark on the 20th century and beyond. The human cost of the war was staggering, with an estimated 85 million people losing their lives. This included not only soldiers but also civilians, who were often caught in the crossfire or targeted in deliberate acts of violence. The Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were systematically murdered by the Nazis, stands as one of the darkest chapters in human history. The war also saw the widespread use of strategic bombing, with cities like London, Dresden, and Hiroshima suffering devastating attacks that left countless people dead or injured and entire communities in ruins. This is not just a story of battles and strategies, but of courage, sacrifice, and the resilience of the human spirit. Throughout the war, ordinary people performed extraordinary acts of bravery and selflessness. Soldiers risked their lives to save their comrades, while civilians contributed to the war effort in countless ways, from working in factories to providing medical care to the wounded. Resistance movements sprang up in occupied countries, with individuals and groups risking everything to fight against their oppressors. Stories of heroism, such as those of the French resistance, the Polish Home Army, and the partisans in Yugoslavia, serve as powerful reminders of the strength and determination of the human spirit. This war touched every corner of the world, from the beaches of Normandy, where Allied forces launched a massive invasion to liberate Western Europe from Nazi control, to the deserts of North Africa, where battles like El Alamein turned the tide against the Axis powers. The war also reached the jungles of Southeast Asia, where British, Indian, and Chinese forces fought against Japanese occupation. In the Soviet Union, the siege of Leningrad and the Battle of Kursk were pivotal moments in the struggle against Nazi Germany. The war's global reach meant that no region was left untouched, and its impact was felt by people of all nations and backgrounds. To the jungles of the Pacific, where the United States and its allies fought a grueling campaign against Japanese forces. The Pacific theater was characterized by intense and often brutal combat, with battles taking place on remote islands and in dense jungles. The struggle for control of these strategic locations was fierce, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Battle of Guadalcanal, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, and the Battle of Okinawa were among the key engagements that ultimately led to the defeat of Japan. The use of kamikaze tactics by Japanese pilots and the dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki highlighted the extreme measures taken in this theater of war. It was a fight for freedom, a struggle against tyranny, and a testament to the human cost of conflict. Leaders like Winston Churchill, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin delivered powerful speeches that rallied their nations and inspired their people to persevere in the face of adversity. The liberation of concentration camps by Allied forces revealed the full extent of the horrors perpetrated by the Nazis. and the images of emaciated survivors and mass graves shocked the world. The war also saw the establishment of the United Nations, an organization dedicated to promoting peace and preventing future conflicts. The lessons learned from World War II continue to shape our understanding of war, peace, and the importance of international cooperation. We must remember the stories of those who lived through this tumultuous time, both the famous and the forgotten. The experiences of soldiers on the front lines, the resilience of civilians on the home front, and the bravery of resistance fighters all contribute to our collective memory of the war. Personal accounts, letters, diaries, and interviews with veterans provide invaluable insights into the human side of the conflict. These stories remind us of the sacrifices made by so many and the enduring impact of the war on individuals and families. As we reflect on this period of history, we honor the memory of those who fought and died, and we reaffirm our commitment to building a more peaceful and just world. The seeds of World War II were sown in the ashes of the First World War. The Great War, as it was known, left a trail of devastation and despair across Europe. Millions of lives were lost, cities were reduced to rubble, and economies were shattered. The war to end all wars, ironically, set the stage for an even more catastrophic conflict. The soldiers who returned home were not the same men who had left. They carried with them the scars of battle, both physical and psychological. The world was a different place, and the peace that followed was fragile and fraught with tension. The Treaty of Versailles, meant to ensure peace, instead bred resentment and instability. Signed in 1919, the treaty imposed harsh penalties on Germany, including significant territorial losses, disarmament, and hefty reparations. The German people felt humiliated and betrayed, their national pride wounded. The treaty was seen not as a path to lasting peace, but as a punitive measure that sowed the seeds of future conflict. The delegates who signed the treaty believed they were securing a safer world, but in reality they were laying the groundwork for another war. The public reaction was mixed. While some hoped for a new era of peace, others foresaw the dangers of such a harsh settlement. Germany, burdened by reparations and territorial losses, faced economic turmoil and political extremism. The Weimar Republic, established in the wake of the war, struggled to maintain stability. Hyperinflation ravaged the economy, wiping out savings and plunging millions into poverty. Unemployment soared, and the middle class, once the backbone of German society, found itself destitute. In this climate of despair, extremist political movements gained traction. The Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, capitalized on the widespread discontent, promising to restore Germany's former glory. The political rallies became more frequent and more fervent as people sought a way out of their misery. The seeds of conflict were taking root, nourished by economic hardship and political instability. Meanwhile, Japan, seeking to expand its empire, embarked on aggressive military campaigns in Asia. The island nation, lacking natural resources, looked to the Asian mainland for expansion. The invasion of Manchuria in 1931 marked the beginning of Japan's imperial ambitions. The military parades showcased the might of the Japanese army, and the soldiers were celebrated as heroes. However, these aggressive actions drew international condemnation and set the stage for future conflicts in the Pacific. The Japanese government, driven by a desire for dominance, ignored the warnings and continued its expansionist policies. The seeds of conflict were not limited to Europe. They were spreading across the globe. In Italy, Benito Mussolini's fascist regime rose to power, promoting nationalism and militarism. Mussolini, a charismatic and ruthless leader, promised to revive the glory of the Roman Empire. His speeches, filled with fiery rhetoric, inspired a sense of national pride and unity. The fascist symbols, prominently displayed, became a rallying point for the Italian people. The military parades, with their displays of strength and discipline, were a testament to Mussolini's vision of a powerful and resurgent Italy. However, beneath the surface, there was a growing sense of unease. The regime's aggressive policies and expansionist ambitions were leading Italy down a dangerous path. The seeds of conflict were being sown in the fertile ground of nationalism and militarism. These factors, combined with a failure of diplomacy and appeasement, created a tinderbox ready to ignite. The diplomatic efforts of the 1930s, aimed at preventing another war, were ultimately unsuccessful. The policy of appeasement, championed by leaders like Neville Chamberlain, was based on the belief that satisfying the demands of aggressive powers would ensure peace. However, this approach only emboldened leaders like Hitler, who saw it as a sign of weakness. The political unrest in European cities was a clear indication that the continent was on the brink of another conflict. The world was watching, and the stage was set for a war that would engulf the globe. The seeds of conflict had been sown, and it was only a matter of time before they would bear fruit.